Hey, travel creators, welcome back to another episode. I'm really excited to bring you this one today because we are talking about calls to action. I know that you know that coming up with calls to action for your posts every single time can feel like a challenge, especially when it seems like every single post needs one. Well, I studied travel creators' calls to actions in their Instagram posts, and today I'm going to be sharing them with you. There are several types of calls to action, as I'm sure you know, and for today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you calls to action that encourage follows, saves, shares, and of course, comments. What I'm going to do is share with you some of the CTAs I've found, give you some inspiration. You can take what you love, leave what you don't, and then I'm going to share with you some larger conclusions I've drawn from them. So let's start with CTAs that I saw real-life travel creators use to encourage comments on their posts. Have you seen X before? That could be a destination or a product. Is X on your bucket list? Anyone else like this when they X, meaning like when they travel or when they are hiking or when they are camping, whatever? Are you team X or team Y? Have you heard about this place? What have been your biggest challenges doing X or Y? If you're new here, welcome. What would you like to know about our X journey? So like national park journey, it could be camping journey, it could be van life journey, whatever. Here is the last one I have for you in this section. I need to know, where are my insert travel niche people at? And I think this one is okay, but what it doesn't give your audience is a clear next step. Like what should they drop? Like the call to action is, I need to know, where are my insert travel niche people at? So for you, it might be, I need to know, where are my budget backpackers at? But like, what should they do? Like if that's me and I'm consuming that piece of content, what do I do now? Should I drop an emoji? Should I say I'm here? Should I put my name in the comment? The more you can lead your people to do exactly what you want them to do, the more success you'll have. We need to paint a very clear picture because people are scrolling by quickly. All right, let's dive into some CTAs that encourage shares. So send this to someone who has a trip coming up. Share this info with someone you think would love to have this experience. Share this with someone who would love this. Tag all your besties. So that one is doing multiple things. It's asking you to comment, but it's also asking you to subtly, it is sharing it with the people that you're commenting. Share this with someone you'd spend the entire day here with. Send this to your travel friends and get the trip out of the group chat. I love these. I think the ones that are more specific do better, especially I find that people have been responding to ones that are about calling out their friends or like their travel besties because it's very clear who I'm supposed to be tagging. Instead of, even though the rest of the prompt might be send this to someone who has a trip coming up, I'm like, oh, but I'm going to send this to my travel friend who like I want to go on a trip with. I think these are incredible calls to action and you should experiment with them more. Okay, let's talk about CTAs that encourage follows that I came across. The first one is hit that follow button above to join a community of insert niche. Let's build something and then a couple adjectives together. This is great because it's incredibly specific. If you can't tell already, specificity is winning. Okay, another one is make sure to follow so you never miss a insert travel niche recommendation. So it might be make sure to follow so you never miss a budget travel or like hostel tip recommendation. And the last one in this category is follow for the best XYZ of your insert travel niche recommendation. So it might be follow for the best hiking of your luxury travel recommendation. So this last one is follow for the best XYZ. So put a thing in there of your niche recommendations. So it might be follow for the best hikes of your national park seeker recommendation. So basically you're telling somebody, come here to my page to learn the best hikes for your national park recs. And finally, I have 2 recs for you for CTAs that encourage saves that I found travel creators are using on Instagram. Here's the first one. Busy, save this post so you don't lose it. And the second one is save this for your upcoming trip to X. Now, let's dive into more of the results I have for you from this little mini research that I did. So as you might have noticed, there aren't many travel creators asking folks to save their content. And the ones that do, ask it in a way that is not super creative. And it really might just be the nature of the travel niche. We want people to save the content because it might be like a little mini guide. It might be information that they really need to know about that destination, or that content, it really talks about a specific destination. We want someone to come back to that piece of content when they are actually planning their trip there. So the next time you're scrolling through travel content, I encourage you to keep track of, or just like make a mental note of how many times you see another creator in your niche mentioning save or asking you to save their content, and see how they use it, and see if you can determine if there's a way for you to make it work for your own niche, or like how impactful is it really? Overwhelmingly, CTAs have questions in them, and it just kind of makes sense. That also means there are more CTAs we run into that are asking people to comment. Because if you're asking people a question, like you wouldn't say like, send this to a friend in a question, you would say, tag a friend, or like, what travel friend are you tagging in the comments is another kind of question to encourage those comments, which is really interesting. I would say lean into the questions. Why not? They appear to be working for a ton of travel creators, so you might as well give it a try. Similarly, I would say 90% of the CTAs I came across were at the very bottom of the post. They were the last thing in there. Very few were at the beginning or in the middle of the caption. It's a great thing to do what other people are not doing, with a little grain of salt, of course. So I think it's great to switch things up, because we can't assume people will consume all of your captions or all of your content or your entire reel. Plus, I really think people are putting their CTAs at the bottom of their posts because they're learning this from other people. And overwhelmingly, people are slapping them at the bottom, almost as if they're an afterthought sometimes. Have you ever like seen a piece of content and you're like, that CTA kind of like feels a little disjointed or like disconnected? It might be because it is. It might be because it's the last thing this creator was thinking about before they hit post or before they were scheduling that piece of content. And we don't want our target audience to be an afterthought. We want to be intentional with them. And ideally, if they're really on your team, they'll be intentional with you. I also saw a lot of CTA questions that were encouraging comments that were super specific. What I mean by this is some of the CTA questions were pointing back to very specific moments in the middle of reels. And it was just incredibly specific. And I think it was way too much, to be honest. So rather than sharing a CTA that is something along the lines of, what do you think of X? It was, what do you think of the XYZ of the thing I mentioned in the reel? Basically talking about, there's one thing in the reel, and then they ask an even more specific question about that thing. Overall, the gist is here that CTAs that are too specific aren't going to help you win and get the engagement you're looking for, because they require someone to watch the entire reel to be able to interact with it. And I know the goal of creating this community is to create people that you build the trust with enough to assume that they're going to watch the entire piece of your content or read the entire thing. But we need to make things as easy as possible for the people in our community to actually follow through. And putting incredibly specific CTAs is not doing this. Another thing I noticed is that some of the biggest travel creators that exist on Instagram don't even use CTAs in their captions. So I am determined to make a part 2 of this research where I try and give you an exact answer as to why I think this is. I have my hunches. Whether it's because they're just making their moolah through brand deals and that's like, it's very black and white. It's very transactional, their page. Fine. But I think without these CTAs, they're kind of ignoring their community. And if you're doing content creation correctly, you know that it's your community who is going to help you grow in the long run. So the next time you're scrolling, keep track of the CTAs that get you. Which are the ones that are like making you stop and pause and actually comment the thing or share the thing or tag the person. If you find yourself compelled by the content, check out what the CTA was. Was it the actual content that gave you a feeling? Like, is it because you actually resonated with what was in the piece of content? Or was it the CTA that like finally made you give in or like take that one more step? In my weekly newsletter, The Content Compass, where I highlight a travel creator who is crushing their content and share how you can do the same, I'll be breaking this CTA madness down even further. So if you want free ways to win at content in your inbox every single Tuesday, the link to sign up is always below. I hope hope this was helpful to give you some insight into what CTAs are actually existing in the travel creator space on Instagram. Happy creating, friends, and now go fix your dang CTAs.